Hey everybody, Bonehead from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Tournament Tuesday. So if you watched this month's monthly meta, you'll know that we're going to start having a go at taking bit more of a specific look at some tournaments that are coming up. We've spent the last 6 months having a look at tournament structures that are happening, that are being planned, and now it's time for us and you guys to give us a hand to work together to build some really good rosters for these events. Now, what we're going to be looking at today is the Sydney Bowl 3. So this is another one of the 7 series events being run by George Christodoulou. George is probably the only person in the world who loves sevens more than I do, and he makes me look like a filthy casual. Loves Blood Bowl 7s and does so much work investigating it and trying to find really good game balance that this is seriously worth having a look at. If you're considering running a 7s event, you have to go and contact George or just have a look at some of the work he's been doing. There's a few great people out there in the Blood Bowl community doing stuff like this. Just come and have a look at the Facebook group for Blood Bowl 7s. It's great folks. It's a great format. You know I love my 7s. So Sydney Bowl, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the rules. We're going to have a look at some of the team breakdowns, and then we're going to have a look at some example rosters that I think would perform well and or be very fun. So we've looked at some of George's rule sets before. I think we had one of the rule sets up on the screen when we looked through maybe Sydney Bowl 2. Anyway, this is Sydney Bowl 3. I'll put the link to the event on the NAF site below, and in that is the tournament rules that George has put together. And it's a really superb little book. Now, the reason this is so important is because it's one of the first 7s events that's going live after Death Zone has landed. And Death Zone changed up quite a bit when it came to 7s. It changed up some of the accessibility of inducements and the price of them. So, for example, you can take an Apothecary, but Apothecaries are now 80k, for example, and Riotous Rookies are not listed as an inducement in the Death Zone novel. The novel book. But George has balanced it out. And like I said, George is an absolute savant when it comes to Blood Bowl 7s. So looking at balance, looking at flexibility, there's three major sort of departures from standard 7s as it is from Death Zones. You can take Riotous Rookies, and we've got the +1 stunty roster adjustment here. So one of the things that was being tried to make some of the 7s rosters a bit more accessible was to say you can have 0 to 4 positionals. That's the team rules, that's how everyone builds, but you can have a 5th positional if it is a stunty. And not if it's a stunty team, just actually one stunty player does not count towards your positionals. So if you're running a human team, you can sneak a halfling on there without it costing a positional. Or for example, if you're running Underworld, you can sneak that extra snotling in for 15k and get you just a cheeky, tiny, teeny weeny bit of swarming. So those are 2 big departures. The third one, which I absolutely love, is that George has included the Beastman team from Fumble into his 7s events. Because it is set in the Chaos Wastelands, which is apparently linked to Australia. So running those Fumble team in there as well, which I think is really cool. It's just a great way. And actually, Ben and I have talked about this a lot. The 7s, sorry, we did it in 7 Super Series 2, but actually that's an example. But the secret teams in Fumble, if you just take 1 or 2 that you really like and bundle them in with the other teams, it works really well. So Sydney Bowl 3 is taking place on the 15th of May in Sydney, Australia. It's 1 day, 5 games. Okay, the build order for this is 3 tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, 600k. Tier 3 gets a bonus 50k, which means stunty teams can actually have a bit more power. Plus that +1 stunty positional if you've got it. Okay, so you can take 4 positionals, 1 extra stunty positional, and the rest has to be linemen. The Beastman team is also involved in this, and skill set, really simple, which I adore in 7s. Tier 1 gets 2 primary skills, Tier 2 gets 3 primary skills, and Tier 3 gets 2 primary and 1 secondary that you can devolve down to a primary skill. So that's the build. The order is simple. The way the game's run is simple, and 7s is quick. So let's have a look at some teams I put together if I was within driving distance of Sydney. So first up, I've got my Tier 1 team here. So I've gone with humans here, and that's to take advantage of that extra positional. So 7s, you get 0 to 4 positionals, and the rest has to be linemen. Double cost for rerolls as well. So you can be a bit sneaky here with the human roster. This one comes in at 590, 570 actually, but you've got 1 assistant coach in there. Yep, that makes sense. So you can take the ogre, you can take the thrower, you can take 2 blitzers, along with 3 linemen and an assistant coach. And that halfling hopeful as well. Now, in standard 7s rosters, you wouldn't be able to take that halfling. No one's ever taking the halfling, because to take the halfling you have to lose a blitzer or your thrower, and that's just garbage. But with that little tweak in team building, the human team here gets to sneak in. Okay, you're downgrading a human lineman to a halfling hopeful and an assistant coach. That can be useful, but what it does do is it gives you that throw teammate element, and it also gives you that stunty element. Okay, so you've got, what, 8 players on the roster, and one of them is a 3++ go anywhere player. That can be game changing. Now, humans are really solid when it comes to 7. Okay, look at this roster. We've got Sure Hands in there, we've got Mighty Blow from the Ogre plus Strength 5, we've got 2 guys with block, and you've got a halfling there who has dodge. So you get all of those key skills in this roster, and those key skills are going to give you rerolls, and as we've discussed, rerolls very rare in 7s. However, this is a tier 1 team, so you get 2 primary skill ups. I recommend Leader on the thrower to get you that 1 team reroll. So that thrower becomes the kind of heart of your team. Sure Hands grabs the ball. Pass, okay, 2+ passing for a quick pass with a reroll is going to go to anybody there basically automatically. And taking that Leader gives you that 1 reroll per half that can just save you. Okay, 1 reroll means you fail. Sorry, means you kind of get free rolled 1 turnover. That means that if you've got a Leader reroll, you kind of gain a whole turn. So massive effect there. With the other skill, you've got a ton of things you can do. Okay, Jugs or Break Tackle on the Ogre is going to be pretty useful. Guard on the Ogre is going to be very useful as well. But I think it has to go to one of your blitzers, and you're looking at Tackle if you're thinking you're expecting to be able to dodge a high environment. I think you are in 7s. Guard is just going to mean you can pound the ground out of stuff, or Mighty Blow will give you that extra bit of removal. It really depends what you want to do with your team. And honestly, guys, just chuck in that second skill on a lineman for kick, also very effective in 7s. So I like humans, I like it in this environment, I like that you can get that halfling to go for the cheeky throw teammate. There's a ton of stuff you can do here. So my tier 2 pick is High Elves. Now, High Elves are sneaky good in 7s. We've seen it this month. They came 1st and 3rd in a 7s event. Now, why is that? If you think about it, if you compare this roster to Elven Union, most of the concern is the price of your positional. So the high elf throwers were expensive, things like that. But when you compare them in 7s, you can only afford those 4 positionals. So what you end up doing is having more linemen. The high elf linemen are better than the pro elf linemen because they've got that armor. So on this roster here, you've got 1 thrower, 1 catcher, 2 blitzers, and 3 linemen. Everybody there is armor 9 with the exception of the catcher. On the Pro Elf team, everybody there is armor 8 with the exception of the blitzers who are armor 9. So you get the same amount of elves, but you just get a huge armor boost, okay? I know it doesn't seem much, but armor 8 to armor 9 is actually massive. So what you're going to end up doing basically is having a whole extra player. That 10k price increase on all of your dudes, it's going to mean that you're going to net about a 70k TV OP play, which is massive. So being tier 2, High Elves get a good suite of skills as well. So the thrower comes with a couple of extra throwing skills, not going to be massively useful in the game. Leader is going to be useful, and yes, I know it's a bit boring, but your thrower is going to be there leading that team, and that reroll is going to be very important somewhere and somewhere. You've still got the 2++ quick pass option as well, so you're going to do well there. 1 catcher. Now these catchers are awesome. They're not as good as the Pro Elf ones, sure. They're the same armor, same strength, same movement, which by the way is movement 8, strength 3, and edge 2+. That is a good player, but you can give them block to give you your 3rd blitzer, bear in mind slightly weaker on the armor there, or you can chuck dodge on them and just make the most of that movement 8 edge 2+ plus dodging. So the difference between the catcher of the High Elf team and the Pro Elf team is Nerves of Steel. If you throw to your Pro Elf catcher in any number of tackle zones, is a 2+ catch and then a 2+ dodge out. With the High Elves, you're going to have to do it the other way around. You're going to have to 2+ dodge out into no tackle zones, position your ball carrier probably in the end, and then you've got a 2++ catch for the touchdown. Okay, you just have to do things ever so slightly. The blitzers not having sidestep, not the most important thing in the world. It saves you 15k a pop, and 3 skills at tier 2. Leader for the thrower is fantastic. Dodge or block on your catcher, and then honestly, making one of those blitzers a blodger is going to be really good as well, although you can't go massively wrong with kick on alignment. I had to get a gutter runner in there somewhere, so I've got another tier 2 roster for you here, is Underworld. So this one comes in at 585. 1 Rat Ogre, 1 Skaven Thrower, 1 Skaven Blitzer, 1 Skaven Gutter Runner. Rounding that out with 4 Goblins as well takes you to 8 players. So you get a good mix of all the fun stuff there in the Underworld team. And because this because this tournament has that extra 5th positional, if it's a stunty, you can sneak a Snotling onto your team, which is going to be massively useful because it means once one drive, you're going to have swarming. You're going to have an 8th player on there. And that 8th player can be massively useful for a cheeky foul. It can also babysit your Rat Ogre. Now, the important thing about this is that your roster has 9 players. So if your Rat Ogre murders your Snotling early on, that's fine. You can then afford to lose another Goblin, and you're still lining up with 7 players. Now, the Goblins are weaker than most other players on the pitch, ever. But movement 6 and that 3+ stunty dodge is going to be really useful every now and again. It means that that Goblin can get wherever it wants to go 8 times out of 9 and take away the extra tackle zone, provide an extra tackle zone, provide a touchdown. Okay, so you've got the Rat Ogre, it's going to murder stuff. You've got the Thrower with that sweet pass 2+, and I recommend giving leader to the Thrower to get that reroll for your team. The Blitzer is going to be a very solid player. Movement 7, edge 3+ with block is just fantastic. It's a great all-round player. You've got a scoring threat. Talking of scoring threats, you've got a Gutter Runner here. Giving block to your Gutter Runner is a bit boring, but it is always going to be useful because Blodge is going to massively help the fact that you are strength 2 and are probably going to get 2-die blocked most of the time. Now, tier 2 gets 3 skills. I do like chucking 2 heads on a Goblin. I know you could say actually Ben Guard is better from the Blitzer point of view, or Jugs or Break Tackle for the Rat Ogre, and you wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but I like Underworld because you get those mutations. And being able to have that Gutter Runner with movement 9 and edge 2+ dodge, and potentially a Goblin with edge 3+, but that 2 heads giving you extra +1, that's a 2++ dodge as well. That means you've got the Blitzer to be your Brawler, you've got your Rat Ogre to be your second Blitzer, you've got the Thrower to grab the ball, Sure Hand's going to be really important there, and then a Goblin here with 2 heads is 2++ dodging everywhere, and you've got a movement 9 Gutter Runner who's also 2+ dodging. This is a very strong team, and I'm not surprised to see Underworld perform really well in 7s as well. So High Elves, Underworld, Tier 2 champions. And my Tier 3 roster has got to be Snotlings. So Snotlings have also been performing pretty well in 7s at the moment. It's not massively surprising when you consider the swarming. Now, 2 elements of this tournament play in massively to my choice of Snotlings here. You get the 5th positional, and you can still buy Riotous Rookies, which are not listed in the Death Zone book. This makes Snotlings hum beautifully. So this is kind of like a mix-mash roster. Okay, 640, Tier 3 gets a boost there. 1 Trained Troll, 2 Stunty Runners, 1 Hopper, and 1 Pump Wagon are your 5 positionals, with that Hopper taking up that 5th slot. You can boost it up and change your Hopper to one of the Bombardiers instead if that's what you want. I like the Hopper as your kind of 3rd fast player. 6 Snotlings as well. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11 players. Then you get a ton of extra stuff. So you get a reroll straight up. Buy a reroll. You get Riotous Rookies, which is going to give you, what, 2d3 extra Snotlings, 2d3 plus 1 extra Snotlings during the game. You're already at 11 players, so you're looking at, what's the average of 2d3 plus, I don't know, like an extra 4 players, probably? That is pretty tasty. So you are always going to have extra Snotlings to be swarming around, and you get that bribe with your Pump Wagon. Now you can get rid of the Pump Wagon and the bribe and take a second Trained Troll instead, and that is absolutely fine. It's potentially better. However, I just had a little bit of extra cash free up, so I just thought, you know what, let's turn a Trained Troll into a Pump Wagon and take a bribe to keep it on the pitch, because I really do love blitzing with the Pump Wagon. It's a terrible idea, but honestly guys, running Snotlings, less of a brilliant idea anyway. So you get, 3 skills here at Tier 3, and 2 of them are normal, 1 of them is a double skill. So I do like Pro or Block on your Trained Troll. Sure Feet on the Stilty Runners just makes them absolute monsters. That really just makes them Movement 9. Movement 9. It's fantastic. This team, you got a ton of stuff, okay? You're going to be running 8 or 9 players almost every drive. You're going to be able to babysit your train troll, babysit your pump wagon. Your troll's going to be great on defense, your pump wagon's going to be great on offense, and you've got 2 stilty runners who are movement 6 with sprint, and if you boost them up to sure feet, that means that they are movement 9. And then you've got Hopper there as well, who is what, movement 6 plus leap plus 2 squares is movement 8. Really fast team, deceptively fast, and you're going to end up with like 10 or 11 just bog standard snotlings anyway. And they, with their little cheeky 2++ dodge everywhere, and the fact they've got dodge, and the fact they've got sidestep, they just get in the way and just do a really great job of playing ball. So there we have it. Going to wrap up Sydney Bowl 3 for our tournament Tuesday tournament. There we go. So we're going to wrap up Sydney Bowl 3 for our tournament Tuesday. We are going to take a look back in the future and find out how it went, either in monthly meta or just on an episode of this series. I am buzzing for this one. I want to see how that 5th stunty plays out. I want to see how the departure from Death Zone with the inducements plays out as well. And I want to see if anyone takes the Beastman team, because I think it's a pretty cool way of doing it. So let's have a quick look at next week's tournament. So next week we're going to be brewing up rosters for the Rocky Mountain Rampage, which is happening on the 22nd of May in Utah. 1 day, 4 games, 1100 TV with stars. Stars can be included in your starting 11. Skills, a TV purchase as well. No edge or strength combos. So let me know your rosters. Drop us an email, theboneheadpodcast@gmail.com, or drop them in the comments to this video here. I want to have a look and see what rosters you guys can come up with, because we are going to have a look at this one next week. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you'd take to this event, and we'll see you next time for more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.